Love that. Well, when it comes to pay phones, it seems that that's not the case. The cost of using a phone box is now a minimum. Are you sitting down? 60p minimum call charge to use a payphone. That gives you half an hour to chat. But let's face it, who's going to spend that long inside a phone box these days? The rise of mobile has all but killed off a phone box, and kiosks are being removed around the country. And a new survey even suggests that by 2020, so in 10 years' time, the phone box will no longer exist. Wow, that's dramatic stuff, isn't it? This is according to new research from rightmobile.co.uk, who looked into the usage of phone boxes and pay phone. And we've got Andy Barr on the line, a spokesperson from rightmobile.co.uk. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning. What a build-up that was.
I know, it's amazing. 60p minimum call charge. You know what? I remember when it was 10p, and I know a lot of people probably remember when it was less than that.
I was just about to say, showing my age, that I can remember when it was 10p, but we're obviously in the same bracket, so we should just keep quiet. But it is a scary amount, and you know my thoughts on saving money. 60p for a phone call nowadays, that's far too much, surely.
I mean, 60p, admittedly, BT will give you half an hour to use the payphone for what I thought a local or regional call, but you're not going to sit in a phone box half an hour these days, are you?
I think you'd probably catch something if you sat in a phone box for half an hour in most of them nowadays. I think that's what we found with Right Mobile Phone. It's just people, you know, one of the main things, people just thought they were unhygienic, and I think that's pretty much the case. You go to London and they're all covered in call girl cards. You go to a country one and they're covered in manure. So it's really difficult trying to find that balance.
You just can't win, can you? But I know, I'm talking of the country and rural areas. I know I was reading yesterday that people in rural parts of the world with poor mobile reception, they feel penalised by this call charge. But the fact is, the number of phone boxes is falling by 25% every year, and I guess people aren't using them, partly, I guess, or largely because of the mobile phones. And the bottom line is, low usage means that the cost is going to go up.
Very much so. BT's a commercial beast, like many other businesses, and they've got to have products that make a profit. And unfortunately, phone boxes probably don't fall into that category now. But I think what is really important is that people kind of understand, and what I'm really loving at the minute is reading about all these villages that are taking ownership of their call box or phone box and making them into sort of picturesque scenes. So I've seen one where they've made it into kind of like a little library, another one where it's kind of like a little shed where people can go and take a few minutes out, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. But I think it is quite sad that that's probably the best use for them now. Everyone's got mobiles and everyone can make cheap calls on their mobiles. There's no reason why you shouldn't be paying a lot less than you would normally for calls by using a mobile phone.
Well, it's interesting actually talking about the alternative uses for these phones. And I was reading a story, a village in Yorkshire. They've turned an old one of these old red kiosks into a village shop where they put an honesty box and they deliver stuff every day, and you go and pick it up and stuff. Not sure if that would work in this part of the world, but maybe in Yorkshire. And closer to here, just outside Woking, in a little village called Brookwood, they've actually turned it into a mini exhibition hall for the community, and they bought it, I believe, for £1 from BT. They put them up for adoption, and local authorities can buy them for £1. So that could be the future of these kiosks.
I think they're all really beautiful stories. Alternatively, you and I, we could maybe have a go and see if we could do the Superman thing in it. I'm not sure if I could spin fast enough for it to work, but I think that's the other good use of phone boxes. But again, not many people are going for that. But I think, again, what we're trying to say at Right Mobile Phone is that people do love the phone boxes. They find them iconic, but unfortunately, people just don't use them. The only time people use them is when the phone battery's dead, and I guess that's quite a sad state of affairs. But I guess 60p for a phone call is quite a lot, even if you are getting half an hour.
Exactly. I mean, if you think, a lot of us on contracts now, and we pay, so much a month, and we get low hundreds of minutes, and you think 60p for one phone call, it is a lot of money these days, isn't it?
It's a huge amount, and I think, as I say, when you think you're paying pennies on your landline, and also some of the good deals that you can get from sites like ours mean that you can replicate that across your mobile as well. There's absolutely no need to use a phone box. I think it's only in disaster situations, and I guess for our modern society, disaster nowadays is running out of phone credit or running out of phone battery.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe that BT are obliged to keep a certain number of phone boxes in place in case there's an emergency and people haven't got mobile phones or can't get a signal. I guess that's kind of why we've still got a few knocking about there.
Yeah, and I think also if you look at some of the details in the stats, you can see why BT does have that. Because although 74% of people say that they've not used a phone box in the last 5 years, that leaves just over 25%, doesn't it? Which is a quarter of the population still using them. So although the vast majority don't use them, there is still that category of people who do use them for whatever reason, and they obviously do serve a really good purpose for communities. And I think alongside the emergency factor in terms of you needing to use a phone quickly, as we said, they've become a community focal point for many villages, and I think that's something that BT should be applauded for. Because a lot of companies they won't give away their products for things like a nominal pound. They just rather get rid of it than have the possible risk in the future. But fair play to BT for doing this.
Yes, they're very much keeping communities together through the use of these phone boxes. You say, not everybody has a mobile phone. Maybe there's sort of, elderly people that maybe haven't got a landline, or they still don't use a phone box. I have to say, though, saying that, I haven't seen a queue outside a phone box for a long time.
No, and I think a lot of people nowadays, if you think about the categories that don't have a mobile phone and where they could actually use phone boxes, I think as well you've got that debate at the minute at what age should a kid get a mobile phone. And so there comes a period where maybe they're at football training, they're at rugby training, they're doing whatever, and they need picking up. They don't have a mobile, so their only alternative is to go and find a call box. So I think that is the only alternative. But trying to think of a queue for a phone box, I've not seen that since the 80s, which again probably shows how old I am. Exactly.
Well, I remember 10 years ago I was at college and I had a pager. Do you remember the old pagers?
Yeah.
I had one of those, and I had a £10 phone card I got, I believe, when I opened a bank account or something. I was sort of using the pager. People were leaving me a message and paying 50p to leave me a message on a pager back then, 10 years ago, and I was calling them back on the phone card. This is before I got my first mobile phone, and I was sort of thinking, I don't need a mobile phone. Who am I going to call? No one's going to call me. And then I got one, and my attitude changed somewhat.
Oh, they're absolutely one of the best inventions ever. But how's about this from a blast from the past then? So when do you remember the old journo press conferences where they used to dash out of the press conference, go and find a phone box and call in their story? Those days are gone as well, I guess.
Well, that's all done over internet and stuff now, I guess, and laptops and everything. And actually, another interesting point here is I was talking to a guy that restores these old red kiosks, and he was saying that he's actually putting some of the kiosks back into offices to give people like a sort of a kiosk to go into to use a mobile phone in privacy. So it's going round in full circle.
Wow, that's an absolutely brilliant idea, isn't it? I think we always see around the offices people hiding next to water coolers or downstairs trying to make those phone calls to partners or, in some cases, recruitment agencies. So I think that is a really, really good idea. And again, kudos to that guy for finding the business opportunity.
Exactly. So it's all about finding niches and business opportunities in life. And interesting, go back to your research, one of the reasons that people tend not to use a mobile phone, besides the hygiene reasons and the fact they got their mobile phones and everything like that, one of the other reasons that was suggested was that we just can't remember these numbers that are programmed into our mobiles, and we have to recall them. Mobile phones have been blamed, I don't know if you saw this in the press recently, causing what's being dubbed as numerical amnesia. And I think I will go along with that. I can't remember any numbers apart from my own, and that could be a potential problem in an emergency, do you think?
I agree with that entirely, and I think it's also something that our community at Right Mobile Phone agree with, because I can only remember really my wife's mobile number, and that's probably about it. You remember your parents' landline, but I couldn't tell you my mum and dad's mobile number, and I think that's pretty poor, isn't it? So I think, that is very much the case. But look at what else mobile phones give us. So people say that they're causing this number amnesia, but they give us diaries so we can look after ourselves. They give us alarms so we can wake up in the morning. So I think it's very much, what did the Romans do for us? Mobile phones have really kind of revolutionised our lives, and I think we shouldn't forget that.
No, definitely. It's a very important tool in everyone's lives, and we're kind of being taken over by technology, but that's the way things go, though, isn't it?
It is, but I think there's always a place for everyone in society to have a mobile or to make the important calls. And I think, as I say, although mobiles have revolutionised our lives, I think it's for the positive, really.
Well, I was reading some more research that was done, and apparently there's more mobile phones now in the UK than there are people, and some people have more than one handset. So what do you think the next big thing with mobile technology is going to be?
Well, I think Apple are always the ones that you want to have a look at. I mean, they're doing quite a lot with video calls with the iPhone 4. So I think what what they seem to do always seems to become the norm. So I think that's probably going to be the next big thing. And you've got to remember that in the eastern parts of the world, that's already got big take-up. So Japan and China, they're already doing a lot of video phone calls now. So I think that's probably the next thing. And then the things that we're looking at, the things that we want to see, the kind of, the 3D and the holographic sort of imaging and things like that, projecting from the phone. So I think there is a lot of really exciting things out there, and you only have to look at our community and see what people are looking for. So yeah, it's kind of scary, isn't it? It
is, just sort of trying to pinpoint exactly where we'll be. You say, this survey suggests that that payphones and phone boxes may not be around in 10 years' time. What are we going to be carried about in our pockets, mobile phone-wise, though? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, technology moves so fast, doesn't it?
It does, and I think if you look at the likes of LG, who brought out the mobile phone watch, does that make sense? Yeah, the mobile phone watch a couple of years ago, that people kind of thought that may be the way forward. But again, you can look at the power of Apple. For the first 10 years of mobile phones' life, it was all about the smallest phone, the kind of the phone that would fit anywhere kind of thing. And now Apple have kind of reverse engineered that process, and now the phone is kind of getting a little bit bigger, but because of the expanding technology on there. So I think, a good couple of years ago, you'd never think you'd be able to browse just normal internet sites using your phone, and that's, that's like kind of the norm now. And I think, again, that's one of the things that our community absolutely loves.
Well, I have to say, I remember getting my first internet phone, and you open up the internet, it takes about an hour to load up and on the phone, and then you sort of look at the sites, and they're nowhere near as good. But now it's just like being on a computer, isn't it?
It is, but I think those first phones as well, you also got a phone call after about 3 minutes from your bank manager saying what you're doing, you're draining your account, by looking at all these sites. So I think it is much more affordable now, and they're kind of, to some degree, the laptop's kind of gone to the netbook, and now the netbook's maybe going to the iPad and iPhone. So I think, and even the Android phones as well. So I think it is really the way that people are going.
It's amazing, like a little scale here. We've got the mobile phones on one end and the phone boxes on the other. And as the mobile phones rise, the phone boxes kind of decline.
Yeah, I think they will decline in terms of actual ones in use. But I think, as we said, they're great, creating great visual sort of spectres in UK villages up and down. So I think, they've still got a role to play, but it's a lot different to what they were first invented.
So we won't be calling from phone boxes, we'll be using them to go shopping and browse the museum and all sorts of stuff. What about sticking the internet terminals in phone boxes? That's another idea, I guess.
Well, I think some of the town centres or city centres do that now, don't they? They kind of replace phone boxes with these sort of mobile internet or these sort of internet kiosks where you can go and look. And again, it's it's so cheap for them to do that now. They can probably get a good partner on board who'd pay for it, and it's what a lot of people are doing. You can always see gangs of kids looking at the internet on there. So again, maybe they're not being replaced as such. It's just their sort of use is being changed.
Well, it is interesting. Let's see what happens on that one. But for now, Andy, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And just quickly, how does rightmobile.co.uk work? How does that help us make informed decisions with mobile phones?
Well, here at Right Mobile Phone, we have a whole list of phones that you can go for. You can have a look at the searches, so you can find the phone that fits with your sort of own social needs. So do you want more text messages or minutes or internet browsing? Once you've done that on a really easy search panel, it'll bring up all the phones that work for you. You can even select the budget that you want to pay for each month, or even if you just wanted a SIM-only deal. So we've got everything that you want all under one roof.
Excellent. I'll bear that one in mind next time I want a mobile phone when my contract runs out or something. It's always good to shop about, isn't it?
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
OK, well, Andy Barr from rightmobilephone.co.uk. Thanks very much. Good to have you on the line this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Andy Barr, rightmobilephone.co.uk. The decline of a telephone box. Have you got an opinion on that? And also alternative uses for phone boxes. What have you seen phone boxes used for? I'm sure I've seen one used as a garden feature. And you've got to look at what they do in Kingston as well. They've got the old phone boxes lined up, like about 20 of them, as an art feature. What's the future of the phone boxes? Is it going to be sort of turned into an internet-style kind of kiosk? Your views on this one, welcome. Get in touch. 25 minutes past 11 now.